Have you ever had a goal, a dream, something you really wanted to achieve, but you weren't sure if you could? I have an inspiring story to tell you today, and I'm really excited to share it with you. Hi, I'm Michele Forshay Thompson with Fathom Realty. I'm a realtor and broker associate here in Dallas-Fort Worth. I want to welcome you to my channel, DFW Real Estate. And today I want to tell you a story about one of my clients. So I first worked with this couple in early 2020. They were looking for their first house together. She was pregnant with their first child. They both had children from previous marriages, and they were ready to find a little nest for themselves. So we closed on their house in March 2020, right before everything happened with COVID. And she does hair. I actually had an appointment with her scheduled a few days after closing, but everything shut down the day after we closed, and so we had to cancel the appointment. Then a few weeks later, she was able to start doing hair again, and I knew she had a lot of regular clients that she needed to reschedule, so I didn't try to reschedule at that time. And then she had the baby, and she was out for a little bit, so I just kept putting it off. And so finally in early September 2021, I finally made the appointment again. Well, in the meantime, she and her husband do CrossFit, and they're very healthy, very fit. But they started doing this program called 75 Hard. Some of you may have done it, may have heard of it. And one of the guidelines or rules for the program, it's 75 days long, and you have to work out twice a day for at least 45 minutes, and one of the workouts has to be outside. So where she does hair is in the country. It's on her boss's property. They have a building that they built there with 2 chairs, and they both work out of there. So when she was at work and she wanted to walk, she would kind of go down the driveway and then walk a couple hundred yards on a country road and then turn into this neighborhood that had just one street curved around. And the houses are pretty big lots, but they have sidewalks, so it's perfect to walk in. So with going down the driveway, down the road, and through the neighborhood 3 times and then back, that would give her 45 minutes. And when she was walking, she would listen to a podcast by the creator of 75 Hard. So a lot of it's about mental toughness and mental strength. And so when she was walking in the neighborhood, she would think, I'd really like to live in something like this someday. But then she would also think, but I can never live here. And then she thought, but what if we could? But what if we could? And so she started thinking about that as a real possibility, that maybe they could do that. And they weren't looking to move anytime soon. They'd only been in their house like a year and a half at that point. But it was something that she thought maybe could be a possibility, because she started thinking, but what if we could? Well, one day she saw a for sale sign go up in the neighborhood, and she looked up the house online, and she didn't like the inside. And she kept walking. And then another house came on the market, and she looked it up online, and she didn't like the inside, so just disregarded those 2. Kept walking every day, kept thinking, but what if we could? And then the day that I came to my appointment to get my hair done, we talked about my hair. She started working, and then she said, I think I want to see a house. And I said, well, tell me about it. So this 3rd house had come on the market, and so now there were 3. It's not a big neighborhood, but now there were 3 on the market at one time. And that one, when she looked at the pictures inside, she liked it. So we talked about it. I said, we can go tomorrow if you want to. So we made the appointment to go the next day and met her and her husband there. And we looked at the house, and they didn't like the inside floor plan as much as they expected. So they just ruled it out, basically, as soon as they saw it. Didn't even need to think about it. But I said, well, what about the other 2? Do you want to see them? I had actually asked her that the day before, but she said, no, don't want to see those, just the one. But then after we saw the one, then her husband said, well, yeah, I'd like to see the other 2. So we made those appointments for the next day. And in the meantime, before we actually went to see the first one, they had talked to their lender that they had used in buying their first house. And he had told them that it actually was possible for them to buy this house. They are very smart financially, and that they didn't have to like pay down any credit card debt or anything. Like they were ready financially. They were ready. So they decided to see the other two houses. So we went and saw them the next day. And the first one that we saw was the one that had come on the market first. And the things that they thought they weren't going to like about the inside, they actually weren't a big deal once they were in the house. And they really loved it. And so then we saw the second one, and they didn't like that one. So out of the three, it was just one that they really were considering. And so the next day we talked. They decided to make an offer. Their house was really ready to put on the market. They didn't have to do much to it. They did pack some things up and do a couple minor things, but it was really in great shape and ready to go. So within a week, we had their new house under contract. We had their second house on the market doing open houses, and it was under contract within a few days. But she just kept going back to, but what if we could? But what if we could? And you know, if she hadn't had that thought, if she hadn't been prepared, and if she hadn't then taken the leap of, you know, trying to make it happen even when they thought that they really couldn't, then she wouldn't have known. She could still be walking that neighborhood and, you know, dreaming about it for a someday, but not realizing that it was actually possible now. So they got everything done. They got their move. They're in their house. They love it. They're hosting people. They're hosting kids. They're hosting extended family. They're hosting friends, and they're really enjoying it. And it actually backs up to where her salon is. So if they put a gate in between the two properties, she could just walk through the gate through her backyard and go to work. But you know, she really didn't think that it was something she could do. So I just want you to think, but what if you could? If it's buying a house, if it's a new job, if it's something scary that you don't know if you can do, just start thinking about it differently. But what if you could? And maybe it doesn't happen right away, but you don't even know if you can if you don't first have the thought, but what if we could? So I hope that it gives you something to think about, and that you start taking steps towards your goals and thinking about yourself and what if you could. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.